Star Network is here.
Hold no punches.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? Hey, folks, today's Thursday, June 11, 2026, coming up on Roland Mark Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network. I am here in Nashville, Tennessee. NFL alumni is having their charity golf classic. A little bit later, they're still on a course. I had to leave, of course. And later in the show, we'll be hearing from Al Smith, a former Tennessee Titan great. Also, Marcus Allen, Javon Curse, as well as Eric Dickerson, Robert Brazile, Jackson State great, who's in the Hall of Fame, played with the Houston Oilers. And so we'll chat with all of them about the great work that's being done with the charities, the children's charities, with the NFL alumni. Also on today's show, we'll talk with the attorney of Florida A&M. They are suing for the billions that they are owed from the state of Florida. And remember, the Biden administration said HBCUs were owed some $13 billion as a result of these states cheating them. And so Florida A&M students and alumni are participating in a lawsuit to try to get their money. Also on today's show, Bishop William Barber is going to be joining us, talking about how we must mobilize and organize, but more importantly, be trained to do so. Also on today's show, Fisk University says they want to put a data center on campus. A lot of people say they don't want that on their campus. One of them, State Representative Justin Jones, said his class on the dangers of AI was canceled by Fisk as a result of his criticism of this data center. Also, what happened to Daniel Dale? He was a fact checker who was holding Donald Trump accountable. He hasn't been on the air for 3 months. Why is CNN scared to have him fact check the lying occupant of the Oval Office? Also on today's show, the Florida State Supreme Court says, screw the law. We don't have jurisdiction over state courts. But you're the Florida Supreme Court. Yo, it's absolutely crazy. Lots for us to talk about on the show. It's time to bring the funk. I'm Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
He's got whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the fine. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, y'all. It's Roland Martin, yeah. Rolling with Roland now. He's funk, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now.
Folks, the U.S. Court of Appeals for the 11th Circuit has revived a lawsuit filed by student and alumni of Florida A&M University. They are suing, saying their university has been cheated out of some $2 billion that was supposed to owe to them over a period of 30 years. You might recall the Biden administration sent letters to a number of states saying that HBCU land-grant institutions were being shortchanged by those states. Money that was sent from the federal government to those states, and it's supposed to go to those land-grant institutions. What these states did was they sent that money to the white land-grant institutions. And so, in 2023, this lawsuit was filed because the current and former students argued that the lingering effects of the state's dual education, higher education system has deprived FAMU of critical resources. Their attorney, Josh Dubin, joins us right now. Josh, glad to have you here. This is critically important. We have been covering this story. We covered the lawsuits that took place in Maryland when it came to HBCU funding and them creating programs, and then Maryland allowed the white institutions to create duplicate programs. We've covered the Mississippi case, Alvin Chandler's, Alabama as well. And we have seen Tennessee State. We've seen North Carolina A&T. We've seen universities in Virginia. When the Biden administration sent those letters out, and letters were sent from the Department of Agriculture, Department of Education, saying these states shortchanged the HBCUs some $13 billion. And so is your lawsuit, is it specific to that money owed, or is it a broader pool of money you're looking at?
Oh, it's specific to that money owed, and potentially more. It's interesting that you mentioned the letter that went to Governor DeSantis. It literally was sent, I think, 3 or 4 days prior to me arguing the motion to dismiss before the judge in federal court in Tallahassee. So you better believe I used it. And look, it's all based on readily available public information. I think that it was shocking to me that the case was dismissed in the first place. So I'm just relieved and grateful on behalf of these brave students that I'm representing that we're going to be back in court and proceeding with this trial.
And the thing here, the letters were very specific, saying that the money was owed for a certain period of time. I think it was 1987, and I forgot when it ended. And the reason that's important for people to understand is that it was defined. And when we were in Tennessee fighting for the funding there, the folks in Tennessee said they were owed additional millions. And what's crazy is you've got right now at Tuskegee, the students complaining about not having enough dormitories. The legislators were complaining at Tennessee State saying, why are you putting these students in hotels as opposed to dormitories? We've seen the same issues with numerous institutions. Well, it's real simple. If those HBCUs had got the same billions of dollars that the University of Maryland got, that the University of Tennessee got at these white land grant institutions, then they wouldn't have to be sitting here nickel and diming and having these decrepit buildings and institutions.
Yeah, listen, I'm a proud Florida State Seminole. I had many dear friends that went to FAMU, and it's no secret, it's in plain sight that the campus is falling apart. The supplies in their science labs don't work. And more importantly, they have robbed FAMU of critical, unique programming. The law school was wheeled up the street to Florida State. When it finally reopened, it was opened in Orlando. They have basically set up a situation where FAMU has to fight and fight and fight to get ahead, or just to try to catch up. And, look, as a civil rights lawyer, what was striking to me about this, and I was quite surprised when the judge didn't know this, was it was never lost on me that FAMU is the site of a former slave plantation. And some of the pushback that I was getting from the judge in that case, who I'll be back before, frankly, was concerning to me. And, our case is very straightforward. We've alleged that under the Equal Protection Clause of the Constitution, under Title VII, under the seminal case of the United States versus Fortis, that, FAMU has been chronically underfunded. It offers fewer unique, high-demand programs versus historically white peer institutions. And, to me, this was one of the most obvious, egregious violations. And the letter from the Biden administration was just sort of enforcing everything that we alleged in our lawsuit. So there's really, the Fortis opinion is critically important because it traces this underfunding all the way back to de jure segregation. So this is should be a watershed moment. We plan to file similar actions in states where HBCUs are being underfunded as well.
Yeah, I mean, this is just, and people just really don't understand, and what we're dealing with. We talk about these public institutions, these public HBCUs. There are 103 HBCUs. I've personally been to 58 or 59 of them. I'm here in Nashville for this NFL Alumni Charity Golf Classic. Tennessee State is here, and what's crazy is that they've been lauding the new president at Tennessee State for his relationship with the Republicans in the legislature, and folks are saying, well, they'll finally been able to get their money. Well, where in the hell's their money been for the last 20, 30 years? And that's the problem. The problem is that when you walk these campuses, they look totally different. And what happens is these legislators, and now in these southern states, black folks have to go begging and pleading. In Florida A&M, they installed, a supporter of Ron DeSantis as a president who was grossly, and I made it clear, I told it to her face, she was grossly unqualified. And people were saying, well, hopefully, because of her relationships, she'll be able to get the money. Well, I'm sorry, you shouldn't have to be, supporting the Republican governor to get funded. These institutions have been cheated out of money. It has been pure, blatant racism, and it's sitting right there. I mean, again, here you have in this case, you had a letter that came from the Department of Education and the Department of Agriculture saying, we sent the money to the state that was supposed to go to this school, and the money never showed up. That means the legislature took that money, which was supposed to go to Florida A&M, supposed to go to Tennessee State, supposed to go to Fort Valley State and Prairie View and all these schools, and said, no, we're going to spend it elsewhere. And that is pure racism and discrimination against these HBCUs.
Well, let's talk about what elsewhere means. The only other land-grant institution in Florida is the University of Florida. And when you start comparing the average per student allocation of money to University of Florida, which is a traditionally white institution, it pales in comparison. And it's interesting. There was a letter sent back by a member of DeSantis's, I don't know if he was on his cabinet. I didn't pay too much attention, but it was lauding all the things Ron DeSantis had done for FAMU while he was in office. It reads like some sort of campaign speech, and it really misses the point entirely. And look, growing up as a white man in America, it was, and I thank my parents for this, because they were knock around Brooklyn folks, and they had a very open arm policy. And I went to a magnet school, and I grew up with people of all ethnicities, religious beliefs, and it became apparent to me as a young kid, 10, 11 years old, that we're living in the aftershock generations of slavery. And in my parents' lifetime, you and I couldn't urinate in the same bathroom in some places in this country. This problem does not fix itself. So I used to get overwhelmed, even as a young civil rights attorney. Look, what can I do? Because I feel like I have an obligation to do everything I can. It's the fuel that I use to try to make change happen. And rather than getting overwhelmed, we go one grain of sand at a time. And there are times where you have to call it what it is. And If it's not racism, then what is it? There's no earthly reason why FAMU was not getting the matching funds that they were entitled to from the state of Florida that the federal government was providing. This is one of, and I've done plenty of post-conviction work. I've walked people off of death row that were wrongfully convicted. This case is near and dear to my heart. It is one of the most, if not the most important case I've ever worked on. You know, these brave students that have stood up as the class representatives should be applauded. And, you know, to have the resolve to keep fighting and the patience to let the appeals process play out, it's just an honor and a privilege to be representing them. But you hit it right on the head, Roland. I mean, this is exactly what it looks, smells, and feels like.
Indeed, indeed. Well, we certainly look forward to seeing what the next steps are when it comes to this lawsuit, and we'll be covering it every step of the way.
I can tell you what the next steps are. The state of Florida is in for a monumental fight if they want to press this. It would be the honor of my lifetime to be able to present this case to a jury. So that's what's next.
All right. Well, we look forward to you being able to do that. Josh, we appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
All right, brother. See you.
Thank you very much. I'm going to bring in my panel right now, Cameron Trimble. He is CEO, Hip Politics Media, former White House Senior Advisor, Dr. Larry J. Walker, Associate Professor, University of Central Florida, out of Orlando, Dr. Greg Carr, Department of Afro-American Studies at Howard University, Washington, D.C. Greg, I'll start with you. Like I said, you know, we have covered these stories, and it is undeniable. It is undeniable racism and bigotry that we're seeing this. And these states, they have completely cheated the HBCUs. It has not been equal. It has not been fair. And then there's no amount of BS that they can give us that's going to somehow convince us that they have been doing the right thing.
No, of course not. And before we say anything else, Roland, I've been reading the opinion. So the Brittany Denton, Niabi Stevens, Dedrick Dansby, Faye Rachel Peterson, and Alexander Harris, those are the 5 students, alumni, that sued. Kudos to you. And I hope that Councilor Dublin will involve the long distance runners in this. He mentioned several times the Ayers versus Fordyce case out of Mississippi, and you mentioned it, of course, as well, leading into your questions of him. I hope he calls Alvin Chambliss. I mean, I'm all for people, things that are near and dear to people's heart, but we need some black folk in this discussion, including some of the attorneys there in Florida. Leroy Purnell, former dean of FAMU Law School, who taught me torts when I was in law school at Ohio State. I hope Leroy Purnell is involved in this as well. The appeals court did not decide on any of the underlying merits of the case. What they did say, however, it was that the district court overreached. They misapplied the Rule 12b-6 standard of review. In other words, they did a bunch of fact finding that they shouldn't have done. So the appeals court doesn't say whether they agree or not. They say we make no determination of the veracity of the facts as interpreted by the district court. What we're saying is, to put it in layperson's terms, you're doing too much. So they returned it to the district court. Now, finally, I would say this. It seems like it should be an open and shut case, but we know we're dealing with white supremacy. And when Attorney Dubin said he wants to spread this to other states, I think what absolutely has to happen is a coordinated effort by attorneys who have been fighting this all along. When I was in law school, my second year, I clerked at the NAACP Legal Defense Fund in Manhattan. And I'll never forget, they had a brain trust meeting on that Ayers case. I was a 2L, and attorneys from all over the South, Tennessee, Richard Dinkinson and boys, Chambliss came up from Mississippi, Louisiana, the Grambling Southern. That has to happen again. I think that should be a very important next step as this war continues.
Well, yeah, you're absolutely right. And I tell you, the thing for me, Larry, is, you know, and there have been different people. I was there for HBCU Invest Fest down in Atlanta, and the goal, Robert Smith and his group, is to raise $1 billion for a fund for HBCUs. And when I was there, I actually said to people, I said, what really needs to happen, this is when a massive amount of money should be put into exactly what Greg just said, into a fund, and say, we're going to hit every single one of these states with lawsuits at the same time. at the same time and force them to have to come and bring the information to show, did they actually properly fund these HBCUs, or were they cheated out of their rightful money?
Yeah, Roland, Dr. Carr hit it right on the nose in terms of, a great black legal minds that have fought for fairness and equity as it relates to HBCUs and other black institutions. And you're right. You need the money, and certainly to address this issue in 16 states that the Biden administration identified, to make sure that these mostly land grant institutions, also known as mostly as the 1890s, receive the funding that they have. And you talked about that period from the 80s until current day. The reality is, if you go further back, that number may jump another $1 billion. And we know, like you said, Florida A&M University, based on that 2023 report, it's owed at least $2 billion, and it's really probably low end of the number. The reality is, Roland, is these land grant institutions and other HBCUs have been underfunded for since their inception, and it's well known among HBCU alum. I'm a proud HBCU alum. The other thing is, and as you made this point, is that why fighting legally is so important is, and you mentioned and Dr. Carr mentioned, is certainly what happened in Maryland a few years ago when those institutions filed a lawsuit, Coppin State, Morgan, Eastern Shore, Morgan, et cetera, and was able to get that issue resolved. I wrote about that issue with a couple of my colleagues in terms of some of the challenges those institutions encounter and what they did to fight the legal system, using the legal system to get the money that they deserved. And so here we are, as someone who lives in the state of Florida, and I know a lot of prominent FAMU alum, is that Florida not only deserves this money because it should as an institution, but also remind you that HBCUs, particularly FAMU and Tallahassee, that they produce, the money that they create in terms of the overall economy in the state and the region. So it's not just a matter of they deserve the money, is that FAMU is an economic engine that drives Tallahassee and the rest of the state, and that alum in the state makes tremendous contributions. So we have to remember that you invest in these institutions like FAMU, right, and then there's an overall economic impact for the state.
Right. Cameron, I had some fool who was trying to defend a Trump administration for and he was like, well, not all of us go to college, not all of us go to HBCUs. And I said, well, if you actually knew what the hell you were talking about, you would first look at the number of doctors, lawyers, engineers that are produced by HBCUs. Two, and we always talk about this here, you cannot, to what Larry just talked about, the economic impact. Okay, there's an economic impact of Fisk and Meharry in Nashville. There's an economic impact when you talk about Florida A&M Tallahassee. Prairie View University is Prairie View, Texas. Texas Southern University in Houston. You start going around the country, you're talking about places that jobs, tax base, any number of things. And so it goes. So when we talk about the funding, let's just say same thing. Knoxville, University of Tennessee, hello. You talk about University of North Carolina, North Carolina State. You want to talk about Kansas State. We can go on and on and on. So the economic engine of these PWIs, the same as these HBCUs.
And I agree. And also as a proud Howard and HBCU alum, I understand the economic impact in not just when we look at the Howards or the FAMUs or some that are in these big cities. Often HBCUs are, as they're positioned throughout the country, and especially with so many concentrated throughout the South, they are economic engines for places that may not have anything else going. When you think about an Alabama State, for example, in Montgomery, Alabama, it's one of the largest employers in the city. And if this money at a government level is being denied systematically over decades for these universities, not only are you not attracting more students who also provide both education and financial support to that area if they're students. But then when you think about the alumni base that you would have created in those who are in higher paying jobs, more professional jobs that not only go back to wherever they are home, but most of these HBCUs draw from states and draw from their local regions. So it would seem it would behoove government, if they were thinking, if it wasn't racist and they were thinking more forwardly, they would realize like, hey, by investing in these HBCUs and by making sure we're getting them the money so they can increase their enrollment, increase their impact, be able to not just draw local students, be able to draw students from overseas. There's so many different, the multiple layers of the economic impact that HBCUs provide to their both local communities and to the country.
Absolutely. All right, folks, so tight 1 second. Got to go to a break. We'll be right back. Roland Martin Unfiltered right here on the Black Star Network. All right, folks, let me tell you about Chapter. Now, if you're on Medicare or about to be, the system is not set up to work for you. Too much fine print, too many plans, and too many people making money off of your confusion. And look, we're used to this. We're no strangers to systems that don't have our best interests at heart. But we don't have to accept it when it comes to Medicare. That's why I'm telling you about Chapter. Their advisors are independent and honest. In fact, they're the only Medicare advisors that compare every plan nationwide. And they're focused on one thing: what works for you. If there's a better plan out there, they'll find it. If you're already in the right one, they'll tell you that too. There are no games. Just last year, people who switched with Chapter saved an average of $1,100. It's 20 minutes and a real person. It's completely free. My parents actually have already called. My mom sent me a text. Folks, give Chapter a call at 724-264-8281, 724-264-8281, and connect with someone you can trust. Folks, these are the kind of services that we need for our audience here at Roland Martin Unfiltered and the Black Star Network. So call Chapter right now, 724-264-8281.
A decade of love, joy, and power. Black Voters Matter is 10 years old, and we are just getting started. This is love with a purpose. This is Black joy in motion. This is unstoppable power. Across campuses, neighborhoods, and back roads.
Let's go!
We show up not just to vote, but to be seen, to be heard, to belong. We ride together, we organize together. We remind each other that our voices matter, because they always have. Black Voters Matter is about more than ballots. It's about housing and healthcare, clean water and living wages, education, reproductive freedom, and dignity. It's about turning pain into action, turning belief into movement, turning community into power. We don't wait to be invited. We bring the energy. We bring the love. We bring the people. Because when Black communities come together, we don't just survive, we thrive. This is how change happens. This is how history moves. We organize, we build, we win.
With medicine and science under attack, I want to keep you and your family informed and healthy. I'm Dr. Ebony Hilton, and I knew at the age of 8 that I wanted to be a doctor. So I studied hard and became the first African-American female anesthesiologist hired at the Medical University of South Carolina since its opening in 1824. And I always say I was made into a doctor, but I was born to be a mom. And as a new mom, wife, sister, daughter, and friend, I understand how frightening a medical crisis can be. I care for individuals on some of the worst days of their lives, and it's my mission to provide you with a safe space to gain clarity on issues affecting your mind, body, and soul. I recognize that there are health disparities, particularly as it pertains to race, and I want to help bridge the gap between you and your healthcare providers. Join me every Thursday for Second Opinion on the Black Star Network, where each week I'll invite experts from various medical fields to share the latest health news. We'll discuss topics such as the vaccine debate, mental and sexual health, medical bias, infertility, menopause, andropause, nutrition, and aging. Together with my medical colleagues, we aim to provide you with a second opinion. Don't miss it, Thursdays only on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I am Tommy Davidson. I play Oscar on Proud Family, Louder and Prouder. I don't play Sammy, but I could. Or I don't play Obama, but I could. I don't do Stallone, but I could do all that. And I am here with Roland Martin on Unfiltered.
All right, folks. Today, Black Voters Matter launched a new initiative that really is bringing together this whole media ecosystem along with activism. It's called the Declaration of a New Nation. It is a series as part of their ongoing effort to strengthen Black political power and civic engagement. April England Albright, Chief of Staff, co-founder of Black Voters Matter, joins us right now. April, glad to have you back. So walk us through exactly what is this Declaration of a New Nation.
Well, there are, in our work that we do at Black Voters Matter, what we try to do is have a build and defend aspect to our work. And so when we see this type of, onslaught of oppressive activities that are happening at the state and federal level, we are challenged with whether or not what we have existing in the 14th Amendment, the 13th Amendment, and the 15th Amendment is all that we need. And so we have been, creating and trying to garner up the same type of movement that occurred in the Negro conventions in the 1800s that led to the passage of the 14th Amendment. We need to start reimagining what this country and its governing documents look like. We know that there are aggressive efforts on the other side to redefine this nation into a nation that existed in 1776. But we're creating a program to help Black imaginations to start to think about what is America going to be beyond this, beyond the 14th Amendment, in order to make sure that our protections are not linked to just the benevolence of people. And so this program that we're launching, Declaration of a New Nation, we call it that because that's what we're calling on our community to start thinking about. How do we create an America that will enshrine our protections regardless of who is in power?
Okay, so when you say a program, okay, again, explain what is the actual program, and how does the regular everyday person be involved in that?
And so we're going to have a series of what we call town halls and community conversations, with our first one happening on Juneteenth in Galveston, ground zero for where Black, liberation and freedom began. And so we're going to be at a church, and we're going to facilitate a conversation with community members where we're going to record and document and even stream live, right? The conversations that Black folks are going to have about, are the protections that we have right now enough? If they're not enough, what do we need to begin to fight and advocate for on a legislative level, as well as a constitutional level? And so we're going to have a series of these meetings throughout this year in connection with our general mobilizing work, because we believe that, in addition to trying to withhold and stop what's happening in DC right now, we need to anchor in our voting what we want for the future. So we're going to have different town hall meetings. We're going to have 4 this year. The first one, again, happening in Galveston, Texas, next Friday.
All right. Questions from our panel. We'll start with you, Larry.
Yeah, thank you for all your efforts, not just on this initiative, but overall. So as you talk about meeting in Galveston, what are some of the things you've been hearing from Black folks about? What are some of the things we should be doing to address? You talked about DC, obviously, the attacks on the Black community. What are some of the things you've heard already from folks saying this is what we need to do to address these issues overall?
I think people are first talking about voting, right? We know that voting is not the only answer that we must undertake in order to continue to build our liberation in this country. But right now we're clear, we're under assault, right? And, and the things that can happen if we do not participate in voting can become very detrimental to our community. So right now, we know in our community, people are talking about voting. They're talking about making sure that we support candidates who's going to stop what's happening in DC, that we can at least get power back at the congressional level to restrain what is happening out of the executive branch. And even at the local level, right, the state level, there are things that are happening, and people are going to use their election and their ballot this year to elect people or to unelect folk, right, who have on their target Black folks. And so that's the first level of things that people are talking about doing to respond in this moment. But let's be real. The mechanisms that are utilized in this country and are being utilized by those who do not want to see our liberation need to be changed. And so we are trying to facilitate through this declaration of a new nation, an opportunity for folks to think about what would that actually take? What would it require to rein in a rogue Supreme Court, right? What type of legislation or what type of real structural reform must occur so that we don't find ourselves on this hamster wheel of us making advancements and then then we have this extreme backlash. How can we truly get reparations in this country? Like, these are the kind of discussions that we must have in connection with how we're going to vote and mobilize this year. And so I believe that's what we're hearing, folks in the communities talking about.
All right, then. Cameron, what is your question?
I am so excited about this this program and initiative. I think, as a digital media and a digital strategist, understanding the power of media with Black folks, with culture, understanding that controlling our narrative is so important. Can you talk to me about how you plan to distribute this, like in mass? Because I think we make so much great content, but understanding in this modern landscape how to actually get it out, and not just both first get it to our people, but get it outside of our people so it can grow not only in this country but around the world. So what's your distribution plan like? How do you plan to get it out?
Mm-hmm. So one of the things that we want to do is we do want to have it in the community, because you're absolutely right. There is not a person in this country or this world, quite frankly, that is not touching their device, right? And so we do intend to have these meetings, and we do intend for them to be live streamed. And we do intend to, break them down, and of course we circulate them. But we're also going to have a 4-part docuseries where we talk to some serious activists and scholars like, Dr. Cheryl, Eifel and others who are dealing with questions around the 14th Amendment and its restrictions and its limitations and where it needs to go. And so we do plan to do a docuseries that we will ultimately distribute and try, of course, to get on larger platforms. As you saw probably last week, Brother Roland really did help us get our documentary out. And so we'll be relying on different kind of platforms to get our docuseries out. And of course, we'll be doing our social media. As we said in our news announcement, we'll do a social media campaign where we'll be doing carousels and information grams, vignette videos that talk about not only the history around the Constitution and its limitations, but actually reimagining what some of these constitutional amendments could say and look like. And do if, in fact, we did have a constitution that truly reflected and was also created by us. And so we definitely want this to be a part. It is a narrative shifting campaign this year. And of course, next year, we'll continue to grow and bolster and expand the vision. But this year, it really is just trying to spark debate, quite frankly, spark debate in our community, have those debates in churches and community centers on the ground in communities, but also try to bring those same debates into the social media environment. And so we'll be doing that to, episodes. We'll be doing it through our own podcast that we have to try to continue to bring forth that debate and discussion around this very important issue.
All right, Greg Carr.
Thank you, Roland, and thank you, April. This is very exciting. I add my enthusiasm to what Larry and Cameron said. I'm glad to hear debate in this conversation. We know, you know better than most, that much of what has been interpreted in those so-called Reconstruction Amendments is basically judges and everything they do with plain language. It's them trying to narrow our rights. That having been said, and I'm also glad to hear you mention the convention movement, because, of course, one of the great debates there was whether or not we should abandon this whole project to begin with. So I'm glad to hear debate at the corner of this. We were at Reedy actually last Juneteenth. That was the day that, of course, former President Biden was there. So it's also exciting to hear he'd be there. My question is very simple. How do I sign up? Because I'm ready for this debate. This whole question of even going beyond the Declaration of Independence, this is long overdue. So let's have this conversation. How can folk get involved?
Well, we're going to be posting on our website. You'll actually see, the information about what's going to happen at the church, right? And we do want people who are coming to Galveston, to be present, to participate, because it is a debate, right? It is the debates that we need to begin to happen. It's the same debates that happened in the convention. How do we get our freedom in this country? How do we really have, perpetual freedom and liberation in this country? And so we are going to have a debate about what that means and allow for Black folks in this century, right, to start to have that discussion about what does a new nation really look like for us that enshrines our rights. And so the first discussion will happen, at that very monumental historical church in Galveston. And we chose that church and we chose Galveston for a very particular reason, because we know they're going to be celebrating 250 years of this country on July the 4th, but we're going to start talking about our liberation at a time when we believed our freedom began in this country. And so we chose Galveston for that reason. And then the other, of course, community conversations and town halls will be advertised similarly, right? But we are in a different time period, because we do know, as we saw, we've been seeing recently this hostile reaction from white folks to our liberation. So we do want to make sure that we are secure, but we will be putting out information so people will know how they can get engaged online, because not only will the people present at the church next Friday be able to participate in the discussion, but we also are going to try to make sure that the discussion can go also online, which is why we're streaming it, so people can also participate and have their voices recorded, and also their concerns, right, recorded. And this is not a future, even though it is a Black futurist thing that we're talking about now, it is also our present, because we can't continue to just resist and fight against what we don't want. We have to begin to build and conceptualize collectively of what we do want. We have a history of doing that. And every time we've done that collectively as a people, this country has moved or expanded its concept of democracy. It's our turn in this century to begin to imagine, because the imagination is the first revolutionary act of any movement. So that's what we hope to spark in this, is to get away from just responding and get into building and creating something new collectively.
All right then, April, we certainly appreciate it. Look forward to it. Thanks a lot. All right, folks, we come back. Let's talk about why is CNN afraid of their chief fact-checking Donald Trump? Why has he disappeared from the air? We'll talk about that coming up next at the top of the hour. We're going to hear from Reverend Dr. Bishop Bill William Barber talking about organizing and mobilizing. The virtual training is taking place this weekend. More than 1,000 folks have signed up, and so we're going to talk about what that future looks like as well. Folks, you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. I'm live here, of course, in Nashville, Tennessee for the NFL Alumni Charity Golf Classic. We're chatting with some of these former greats in just a moment as they are now coming off of the course. Don't forget, support the work that we do. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. Your dollars are critically important for us to be able to do the work that we do. If you want to contribute, so do us a favor. For Cash App, use a Stripe QR code. You see it right here on the screen. If you're listening, go to blackstarnetwork.com for more details. Of course, that's also for credit cards, for checks and money order. Make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered, P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 2003 7-0196. PayPal's R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo's RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. We'll be right back. All right, folks, let me tell you about Chapter. Now, if you're on Medicare or about to be, the system is not set up to work for you. Too much fine print, too many plans, and too many people making money off of your confusion. And look, we're used to this. We're no strangers to systems that don't have our best interests at heart. But we don't have to accept it when it comes to Medicare. That's why I'm telling you about Chapter. Their advisors are independent and honest. In fact, they're the only Medicare advisors that compare every plan nationwide. And they're focused on one thing: what works for you. If there's a better plan out there, they'll find it. If you're already in the right one, they'll tell you that too. There are no games. Just last year, people who switched with Chapter saved an average of $1,100. It's 20 minutes and a real person. It's completely free. My parents actually have already called. My mom sent me a text. Folks, give Chapter a call at 724-8281, 724-264-8281, and connect with someone you can trust. Folks, these are the kind of services that we need for our audience here at Roland Martin Unfiltered and the Black Star Network. So call Chapter right now, 724-264-8281.
Carl Payne pretending to be Roland Martin. Holla!
You ain't got to wear black and gold every damn place, okay? Ooh, I'm an alpha, yay. All right, you're 58 years old. It's over.
And you are now watching
Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Uncut, unplugged, and undamn believable.
Folks, we are living in a day when mainstream media is scared to death. They are weak, and the right wing is owning all of it. Let's just take CNN, okay? It was 3 months ago when David Ellison announced they were making this bid for Warner Discovery. And so what did they end up doing? They ended up beating out Netflix, really because Trump put his thumb on the scale and made clear that they were only going to approve their acquisition. So there's a guy named Daniel Dale from Canada, and he has been excellent at fact-checking the lying, corrupt, twice impeached, criminally convicted felon-in-chief Donald the Con Trump. Well, it's interesting that he hasn't been on the air in 3 months. Now, mind you, still works at CNN. They still post his stuff on the website. He's posting on social. They do these other social videos, but he literally has not been on any show at all in 3 months. Guys, I worked at CNN for 6 years. Do you understand that that is a conscious decision by executives? What that says is that executives have said to show producers, do not put him on the air. Donald Trump hates when he's on the air because what he does is he exposes the lies of Donald Trump. He goes fact by fact by fact. And every time he lies, he exposes them. Now, you would think that a news network that claims that they are unbiased, they are objective, would want for the truth to be told. But that's not what's going on here. They don't want to be on the bad side of Donald Trump. And this is one of the reasons why mainstream media really is lamestream media, is because they have no integrity, no honor. You see what's going on with Barry Weiss and CBS and 60 Minutes and how that's an absolute shit show. You see how these other people are just so scared to death. You see how Donald Trump just pimped these networks, and he forced that settlement with ABC, and he forced the settlement with CBS. And basically they were paying bribes to him, and everybody's trying to get on his good side. But when you have a network that says, oh, we're not going to put on our fact checker, and then they don't give a real explanation. There was a statement they gave to status.news that, oh, he's still a member of our network, blah, blah, blah. Y'all, that's total BS. And according to their report, he's moved back to Canada. I would not be surprised that Daniel Dale announces in the next 3 months he's no longer with CNN. And that's what you're seeing right now. If y'all want to understand why independent media is so critically important, it's because what you are seeing is a complete capitulation of mainstream media. We are no foxes in the can for them, but these people are scared to death of them. You do not have today media executives who have the guts of a Bill Paley, a David Sarnoff, a Leonard Golderson, who have the guts of a Katharine Graham. You don't have that going on today. What you have are corporate interests who say, listen, we make our money elsewhere. We don't want to be on his bad side because this guy is going to seek retribution. He's going to make our life difficult. So what they have said is, we will gladly allow this man to lie with impunity, to attack our reporters, and we're not going to say anything in response to his lies. And that is what's going on here. There is no explanation that CNN, Mark Thompson, and any of those executives can give at CNN as to why Daniel Dale is not on the air. And folks, this is going to continue they will continue to bow down. They will continue to capitulate. They will continue to suck up to this man because they do not want to hold him accountable. And that, to me, is an absolute shame. There's no other way to look at this. And what we are witnessing, Greg, I want to go to you first. What we are seeing consistently, they did this at the outset, and they're saying now, you know what? It's 2 more years, so we're just going to go ahead and just do whatever we need to do to make this man feel comfortable, because we are not going to hold him accountable. And you can see it in their reporting, in the editorial decision making. And I'm telling you right now, if that means that more and more people stop watching them, stop supporting them, good, because these people do not care about the truth.
No, they don't, Roland. And I think you'll be doing a lot of unpacking, analysis, a lot of reporting over the next few months as many of these illusions continue to fall. We saw the racist Elon Musk offering $155 shares in his illusion, selling people on a dream of going to Mars today. That will soon burst. Some investors are like, "He's selling snake oil, my friend." And of course, there with Paramount CNN, we saw David Ellison basically trying to kiss Leslie Stahl's ass this week, saying that I'm not going to interfere with 60 Minutes. Yeah, whatever, because the thing is already crumbling. We certainly see Barry Weiss embarrassing herself to the point where they may pull her back as they absorb CNN. And what does that have to do with Daniel Dale? Well, as you just said, it isn't that he has disappeared. He's written 6 articles in just this month. The latest a couple of days ago, where he got into the lies that Bozo told Kristen Welker at Meet the Press. And he's been doing short form video on Instagram. So the question I would have for you, brother, as we see the eyeballs continuing to drop, I'm sorry, Byron Allen, I don't know why you took that deal, man, but they said it was an 85% drop off from Stephen Colbert to whatever that thing is, Comedians Unchained, Unleashed, whatever it is. As people turn away from broadcast media, now cable television, I guess my question to you, as we see people following suit with what you've already done, whether it be Zateo or whoever else has been put off of those platforms, my question to you is, does Daniel Dale, does this quote unquote disappearance, does this shifting of where he has appeared from camera to the digital platforms, to the writing he continues to do, is it a big deal? What does that say in terms of his ability to get information out to the public? I'm not sure in this shifting landscape whether I have a good handle on that, brother.
Well, I'll tell you. So let me just sit here and let me just do a basic check. So if I'm sitting, again, sort of how I think about this. So let's see here. So if I go to Daniel Dale, I'm looking on Instagram. I'm trying to find his correct account. But if I'm him, what I'm going to do is, and this is my advice to Daniel Dale, do exactly what I did at CNN. Control your own social media. Control your Instagram. Control your Twitter account, your TikTok account. And then when your contract is up, it's clear CNN's not going to renew it, and you've actually built something that the public actually is supporting, and then do it yourself. And you can actually build your larger audience than what CNN is giving you. But what they're doing is, and I know exactly what they're doing, because Cameron did the exact same thing to me. The exact same thing to me in 2012. 2012, CNN made a decision. And Mark Whitaker, Jim Walton had announced that he was stepping down from CNN. Mark Whitaker, the brother, was the number 2, and he never liked me, never wanted me on the air. And they made a decision to take me off the air at the Republican National Convention. The night before the Democratic National Convention, I got a call from Lucy Spiegel saying, "We're not going to need you this week." And I'm like, the convention ain't even started yet. They purposely said, "We're not going to use you on debate nights," because they had a meeting and said he's not going to become a star like he did in 2008. That's how they do. They take you off the air.
That can be one of the most freeing things for Daniel Day. And for that, I think two things. One, we understand that they really are playing to an audience of one.
Say it again.
Donald Trump. They're playing to an audience of one, Donald Trump, and they know Trump. It's famous to be reported that he sits and spends hours with multiple television screens, Fox, MSNBC, CNN, looking at, and that's what controls him. And then what he sees on social media is carefully curated by the people who are closest to him to watch, to be able to show him what's there and not. But they can't necessarily control what he sees on TV. So they understand that with the pressure that the FCC can impose upon them, and their larger media conglomerate that they're continuing to build out, they have an audience of one. And as long as he doesn't see the faces and the challenges or the aggressive challenges on the main screen, it's not there. But as you've done, as so many of others have done, and those who are leaving, there is a challenge to transition that broadcast audience as it does dwindle, and to make sure you're really feeding the internet. And while there is some natural crossover there from cable TV and so forth, it's still, the internet speaks a little bit differently. It moves a lot faster. And quite frankly, his biggest advantage his only real advantage on being CNN really was the clips he was getting off of CNN anyway to put back on social to build his audience. So now he should be tripling down on that. And continue to be able to create partnerships online where he could probably grow a larger audience than he ever had on CNN. Because guess what? The same way as you are, and so many others who were first on TV and have now shifted to online and other mediums, you already have the CNN stamp. He already has the CNN stamp. He's been there. He doesn't need to stay there in order to now move his brand of journalism and his personality and his audience.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Larry, I knew what they were doing. I knew that they purposely took me off the air, and they kept putting Van Jones and Charles Blow on the air, even though I was far more popular and far more experienced. That was a decision. I mean, there was no other logic. There's no other logic you could say, wait, hold up. How are we not using him, one of the best voices we have on the air? Because they literally had a meeting. And in the meeting, they said, we need to find out another Roland Martin. Somebody said, well, we already have Roland Martin. No, we need to find out another Roland Martin. They said, literally, I was told this by somebody who was in the room. They said, we do not want this person to become a star in the 2012 election like they did in 2008. So I know exactly what they're doing to Daniel Dale. They're still paying him. He's still under contract, and you can still do this little small stuff, but they're purposely keeping him off the air. That is a choice by the executives at the top of the network, pure and simple. And what they've done, Larry, they've said to the VPs and the executive producers of the shows, do not book him on the show or any of your shows.
Yeah, absolutely, Roland. And they've got him in a bit of a modified witness protection program, right? So he could do some things, but he's basically disappeared off the air. And I think, my colleagues highlighted it. What happened to you in CNN and what you were able to do and continue to do is the template. And that's why so many other folks have done it. You highlighted Daniel should really take the opportunity, whether, obviously he's mentioned he's back in Canada. But once again, as Cameron said, he's already been on CNN. So now he has the opportunity to use that, like we said, whenever his contract is up, to use whatever platform he wants to use and continue to fact check. And once again, he's got the recognizable name. He's got the brand. He is the brand. And so a lot of what's happening with some of these cable networks and other larger platforms is, back in the day, it was like, the network is larger than the personality, but that is not the case anymore. We're a personality-driven society. And so individuals who have the talent, have the personality, and are willing to make the sacrifice can start their own platforms and be actually bigger, as Cameron said, bigger than the network. The other thing I highlight, Roland, is this is one of the challenges with capitalism. You talked about some of these mergers, and this is one of the reasons why, Daniel in this situation, but generally when it comes to Black folks, whether it's TV, media, communications, or other platforms, that capitalism will not save us, and that we're going to have to find other creative ways to maneuver around some of these challenges rooted in greed, to make sure that the messages get out to the Black community.
Indeed, indeed. All right, folks, got to go to a break. We come back. Quick break. We're going to hear from Bishop William Barber, Reverend Bishop William Barber. We're talking about organizing and mobilizing. There's a huge virtual training taking place this weekend. So that's going to be happening. Also in the second hour, we are going to have, of course, Black Star Network headlines. Plus, I'm here at the NFL Alumni Charity Golf Classic. And so the players are slowly coming in. And so we're going to be talking to some of them. A few moments ago, I saw Hall of Famer, Houston Oilers great Robert Brazile from Jackson State, Marcus Allen, Eric Dickerson, Al Smith, Javon Curse. And so love to get Derek Jackson as well, Beasley Reese. And so we're going to try to grab as many of them as possible. I want to get their thoughts on a variety of subjects. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered right here, Nashville, Tennessee, on the Black Star Network. All right, folks, let me tell you about Chapter. Now, if you're on Medicare or about to be, the system is not set up to work for you. Too much fine print, too many plans, and too many people making money off of your confusion. And look, we're used to this. We're no strangers to systems that don't have our best interests at heart. But we don't have to accept it when it comes to Medicare. That's why I'm telling you about Chapter. Their advisors are independent and honest. In fact, they're the only Medicare advisors that compare every plan nationwide. And they're focused on one thing: what works for you. If there's a better plan out there, they'll find it. If you're already in the right one, they'll tell you that too. There are no games. Just last year, people who switched with Chapter saved an average of $1,100. It's 20 minutes and a real person. It's completely free. My parents actually have already called. My mom sent me a text. Folks, give Chapter a call at 724-264-8281, 724-264-8281, and connect with someone you can trust. Folks, these are the kind of services that we need for our audience here at Roland Martin Unfiltered and the Black Star Network. So call Chapter right now, 724-264-8281.
Hey, it's John Murray, the executive producer of the new Sherry Shepherd Talk Show.
This is your boy, Earthquake.
And you're tuned in to
Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Folks, June 12th and 13th, Reverend Dr. Bishop William Barber, of course, is going to be leading a virtual training session. Remember, we had people who were signing up, more than 1,000 people signed up for this virtual training to be taught how to organize, how to mobilize when it comes to voter registration. We are facing a critical election this year, but it's not just the election this year. It's really about how do we mobilize and organize and stay that way for 365 days a year. Bishop Barber joins us right now. Bishop, glad to have you on the show as always. Let's walk through this because the thing is this: people love to say we need this and we need that. We need folk to vote. We need folk to get registered. We need to be talking to people. Earlier we had April from Black Voters Matter talking about the series that they're going to be doing, these town halls around whatever. But one of the things that you and I always talk about is also we have to have data collection. We can't just have folks showing up and then they just go back home. We got to be able to reach them, hit them back, follow up, addresses, phone mails, social media. We have to be building out databases of people across the country, in states, in cities, in neighborhoods, in communities, down to the block, down to the street, down to the house.
Exactly right, Roland. The extremists, nationalists, white nationalists, and others touched their people 12 times before the election, 12 times. And what we have to do and what we're doing, and by the way, I have a good announcement. We are almost at 2,000. The call that you and I made for black men to come and be trained is almost 2,000 now on this Saturday. And what we are having to do is first you have to educate people. You have to make sure they know what's at stake, but also what the laws are in every state, because voter registration may be different. Then you have to register them, then you have to mobilize them. And you have to be able to use both technology and the old way where you're going door to door. But when you just say vote, or we're going to get everybody to vote. It's almost an unreasonable thing to say, because you're not going to get 100%, but you're not after 100%. You got to know the data. So in some states, what we're really talking is moving 12%. In another state, 5%. Another state, 15%. Now, you want everybody, but I'm talking about to get you to 51% in general to transform district congressional elections. There are many states where the number of infrequent, not people that don't vote, they just vote infrequently because they're not talked to often enough, have the ability with just 10 or 15% of those people moving to fundamentally shift the election. So this Saturday, what we're doing is training these brothers in the first fundamentals. This is one group. We're also doing something with women. We're doing something with poor, low-wage people specifically. But this group is black men and what they can do in communities. And we're talking to them about, first of all, we're going to show them what the power really is. Because a lot of people think that this last election was some mandate, and it wasn't. You know, the president won by less than 2 million votes. 90 million people didn't stay at home. In 7 states, 7 million people stayed home. If just 10% to 20% of those had voted, different election. That's the reality that we're dealing with, Roland. The Congress that we have exists because of just under 7,000 votes, with 90 million people staying home. We had 20-some% of black men that voted for Trump, but many of them were misinformed. What if we had had an all-out attempt to touch them? So that's what you and I are doing. We're going to train them what their real power is. Then we're going to show them the numbers, the actual numbers in about 16 states, and how just 10 to 12% shifting would change things. That way, they feel like we can make a difference. Then we're going to show them the process for how many people have been hurt through the recent bad public policy, because that's who you have to go get. If 20 million people lost their health insurance, you got to mobilize those folk to vote, because they are mobilized now because they're hurting. But you have to talk to them. If people lost their SNAP, you have to talk to them. Then we're going to walk down and look at this plan of how to use technology, how to use texting to send people report cards, videos, and direct messaging on how they can get registered, where they can go to check their registration, make sure they aren't purged, and then how they can use that technology. We took 600 people last time, Roland, and reached about 8 million people. 8 million people. If we'd had more money, we'd reach them more. And that's what we're going to be teaching. Now we're talking about hopefully having 2,000 brothers that can do this kind of reaching. And then lastly, we're going to teach them what they can do in their communities. For instance, I believe, and I say this very clearly on your show, that what we need right now is not, say, a march on Washington, but a march on the polls. What if we were to organize in every state, the first day of early voting in every state, marches from HBCUs, from churches, from lodges, from community buildings, just marches right there, straight to the polls, particularly in the states where you can register and vote the same day. So if somebody saw you march, you could say, come on, go with me. What if we did that and every news station, every internet place had to pick it up? You've got 1,000 marches going on across the country in these local communities. Well, brothers could do that. They could organize it. They could work with those HBCUs. The fraternities could do it. The sororities could do it. The lodges could do it. We could do it and have a march on the polls the first day of early voting in every state, and then continue it and say that we're not just doing this for 26, but we also recognize what we do in 26 got to be done in 28 and beyond. This is the kind of mobilization, and that also could be mass education, because it would be picked up everywhere in the media, and people would say, wait a minute, this early voting, why are people marching? We did that when Obama ran in 2008. We marched in North Carolina, the first day of early voting, every HBCU in place. We turned out 1.5 million new voters, Roland. We didn't have a big march at the state capitol. We did those marches like that in the non-election year. But in the election year, we put all our money.
That's how he Yeah.
That's how he won.
That's how he won North Carolina about 14. He won North Carolina about 14,100 votes.
Right. And it's because we focused on early voting and we marched, and it became news and people got into it. It became a fad, if you will, a thing. Now, before then, the year before that, we put almost 100,000 people, 50,000 people in the street at the state capitol, push the state legislature. But in the election year, we took all of our money and put it in grassroots organizing. Imagine if every church, this is the third thing we're going to teach the brothers on Saturday, and we're going to put this up on our website so anybody can go get it tomorrow up on the website. What if every church said, this is what we're going to do? I call it the ACTS way of mobilizing. We're going to take the area 2 miles around. First of all, we're going to start in the church. Every person over 18 in this church is going to vote. Then we're going to do 2 miles around the church building, get the folk there. Then we're going to go 5 miles, and then we're going to go 10 miles. But we're going to start with everything. So take a church that's got 20,000 members. If that pastor made sure all of those persons went, and then everybody within a mile radius around that church, now you're getting into micro-organizing. That is what is needed.
Right. It's all, and that's the thing. And listen, I've made this clear. I'm sick and tired. People hit me up. Hey, Roland, are you going to cover this march? First thing I say is, what's the purpose of the march?
Right.
And if they cannot explain, if they can't explain to me the purpose of the march, if they cannot tie that march to a plan of action that's very specific, I'm not doing it. And I've had people reach out to me for a lot of these civil rights anniversaries, and I've said this, and I've said to people, I said, folks, I'm not trying to be difficult. I said, I'm not going to another one of these gatherings that doesn't serve a purpose.
Right. And now the purpose has to be state-based. The good thing about what Latasha and them did in Montgomery recently was it was state-based. What if we did that everywhere? But think about this idea. But you connect it to the local organizers. It's not that we have to come and save the South. We need to empower the people that have been fighting all their lives in the South. That's what Amelia Boynton, they had been fighting 40 years before John Lewis and them got there. But what if you planned it, you had them on say, the first day of early voting. So you have a mass gathering, say at 10 o'clock, and then everybody releases and walks to the polls and goes to the polls. And you got communities all over that state going to the polls at the same time, early voting. We fought for these early voting same-day registration. You don't have to just vote on election day. So all of our effort should be focused in how are we going to use the 10, 15, some places 20 days of early voting. And in some places, same-day registration, which means you don't even have to go register a person first and then come back and get them. You can take them one time doing early voting, and they can register and vote the same day. That's where our mobilizing has to focus, and that's the march we need to be focusing on. Multified marches and movement, micro level, in local communities, in the states. And that's what we're going to be training these brothers on Saturday.
Question from each one of my panelists. I will start with Cameron.
Hello, Reverend Barber. Hello, Reverend Barber. This is a amazing gathering you're doing here, and I love the strategy behind that you kind of explained of where this is going. My one question here is, how do we expand this? How do we expand this training and keep it going, not only through this election, but beyond? Because I think so many of these trainings that these civic engagement trainings, and finding ways to make them interesting, and finding ways in this where folks are so entertainment driven, and I'm on my phone, I need to scroll and so forth, and virtual trainings, I know it's trying to crack the code to keep people engaged the entire time. How do you plan to make sure we both keep it engaging and do more of these?
Well, one thing with repairers of the breach, we recognize that if we're not talking about a 10-year strategy, we're not even talking right now. If all we're talking about is a midterm, it is the craziest thing ever. Because the mess we're in was a 50-year strategy. Started in 1968. So we're talking anything less than a 10-year strategy. And that's what I'm saying to other groups, and churches or other groups. We can't talk about just 26. We have to talk about 28 and 30 and 32, what this is really about. Secondly, I think what we have to do to keep people interested is to keep people focused on the level of pain that's been created and is being created. You know, I'm leaving for Germany in a week because I've been invited by the World Council of Churches to go to Germany because Germany is terrified right now. They never thought America would be seen as a predator geopolitical force. They're terrified. They knew Russia would and China would, but they never thought they would see the vice president go over and speak to a fascist group or Musk to go over and one report says give a Nazi salute. They're terrified. But the church over there is raising the question, what must we do? And I'm telling you, what ought to keep us focused is if we are clear about what's happening. The problem with that is sometimes we're not deeply teaching people what's really going on. And part of what we're going to be doing with these trainings, not just for Black men, but starting with Black Men Saturday, is making sure people actually know the battle that we're in. It's something about when you know the battle that you're in, your alarm clock doesn't wake you up in the morning. Purpose gets you up in the morning. Mm-hmm. That's what I think we have to make sure people are clear about.
Yep.
Yeah,
Larry?
Reverend Barber, thank you for all your work. I wanted you to talk about, in terms of how do people support your efforts, right? It takes resources to organize, take care of people. So is there a website or somewhere people go if they want to support your efforts?
If they go to breachrepairs.org, repairs of the breach, and just click on the donate button, they can donate. We are certainly trying to build up about 20,000 monthly people who donate. If they just give $20 a month, $25 a month, it is so helpful to you're right, hard work, it costs, it's a must right now. You know, what I've tried to do is do it and say to folk, come join it. I don't wait till we get the money to do it. I don't know any other way. Roland and I talk about this other time, but just going out doing it. But yes, they can go to www.breachrepairs.org and click. It's easy to do and make a donation. I would ask people if you could do a monthly donation to the work that we're doing. We have 12,000 unique clergy followers now that we're training how to use their congregation as organizing centers, not just as preaching centers. Preaching is important, but prophetic preaching has to preach and then put flesh on what is said. So we have that and many other things that are going on. Go to www.breachrepairs.org and become a monthly partner with us.
Greg Carr.
Thank you, Brother Roland, and it's always good to see you, Reverend Dr. Barber. Traveling Mercies, CPAC has been global for many years, and I'm glad that you getting into this global conversation because they don't plan based on countries. They plan based on the whole globe. So I'm glad to see you in the middle of that. Reverend Barber, as we think about political and cultural education, a lot of times, our folks get into conversations about voting, and the first thing some people will say is, well, what's in it for me? What will I get? What role will political education play in this training and in this really work to ground people to have conversations so that maybe it relieves some of the pressure from trying to explain why voting is important and getting folks engaged? I don't know if there's any syllabus. I won't say syllabus. I guess that's too technical, but any kind of process of conversation around, civics, which of course has been taken out of so much of our education system.
Well, part of what we're going to do Saturday and afterwards going to publish it is what we call a third Reconstruction voting pattern. In other words, we just telling people to vote or even telling them to vote a particular party is not going to energize. In fact, it could actually be defeating because people could ride a coattail and get in and then turn around and hurt us. Remember, in 2020, when we were pushing the Preparers of Breach, Pulpits, Cam, and others for Biden and Harris to do three things: do the COVID relief, living wages, and the John Lewis voting at the same time while the things were hot. Some folks said, just back off. We'll get that done later. No, you can't back off. And what we need to be saying is not are we going to just vote, but what is the future we are voting for? Because we're not voting for normalcy now. We surely can't be voting just to go back to 2020 or even 2008. We're voting, what are we voting for? And you do that by looking at them. If we're not voting for a democracy that's going to do health care for all, if we're not voting for a democracy that's going to pass living wages that in one vote could lift 40% of black folk out of poverty and low wages, if we're not voting for those things, then just saying folk vote, it doesn't energize us. So you're right, Dr. Carr, have to have political education, because even in a time of crisis, even in a time of neo-fascism and nationalism, you still don't just vote. You don't just vote. You have to vote for a purpose. Go to and I tell everybody this. Last thing I'll say, Roland. And by the way, Brother Carr, if you got any notes about geopolitics, send them to me before I head to Germany. Just email me. But at the end of the
put that in the syllabus.
Okay, I am. At the end of the Selma to Montgomery March, Dr. King gave a list. He said, give us the ballot and we will do this. That's what's missing today. We get riled up and we get mad at Trump. No, it's not just voting because you don't like Trump, because Trump is a particular pawn in this moment, but he's not the system, right? He's not the system. He's the symptom of the system. He's like snot when you have a cold. He ain't the problem. He's the symptom of it. You wipe the snot. You got to do something deeper to get rid of the cold. And King went down a list. Give us the ballot and we will do this. Give us the ballot. And that's the list we need right now, because that then will make politicians stand up and not just say, vote for me because I can run off a litany of what I'm against. What are you for? And what will you do in the first 50 days if we give you a new Congress or a new Senate or a new House of Representatives? We have to give those folk courage, and the only way they're going to get that courage is for the voters to lay out what it is before them. That's why we're going to produce a third reconstruction, what we want, like a vision, write the vision. We are voting for this, not just to vote.
Absolutely. I say that all the time, that we have to be educating people, that the phase that we're in right now is the educate, enlighten, inform phase. That's between now. Then getting them registered is the next step. Then after they get registered, then we look at when in the early voting dates. Then it's like, okay, how are we driving people to the polls? How are we creating our own Uber, utilizing church buses and vans and things along those lines, taking folk to the polls? And it's a numbers game. You got to be able to count as well. You got to be able to track this stuff. It has to be literally every single day. This coalition, today, we drove 1,200 people to the polls. The next day, we drove 800. The next day, it has to be that way. I think part of the problem, Bishop, is, and this is why, and I've just made it clear, I am not spending our hard-earned, meager resources covering a march or an event that has no purpose behind it. My whole deal is, okay, who's going to be there? Are you collecting data? Okay, what are we trying to tell them to do when they leave that particular event? I'm not marching just to march. And where we have to be is to look at numbers. Okay, in this congressional race, in this mayoral race, in this state Senate race, how many votes did they get last time? Where are the people? How do we track it by precinct? Let's look at the data. In the last election, how many people in this precinct are eligible voters? How many of them actually voted? And then where do they live? You go target them with door knocking. That's the micro strategy. And so I'm tired of these people these civil rights organizations and leaders and other people and activists who want to have these broad things, which is about getting media attention. No, this is about literally results when we gather.
Do you know that the guy who ran, the right called the Pat Robertson, his organizer said this: my goal is for you to wake up on election day and be in a body bag and not know how you got there. Boom. That was his strategy. And that's why, Roland, we're hiring. You and I I'm hiring a brother, and he's put together a person who does campaigns. And we want these brothers that we're going to, this first training, to begin to be leaders in their various communities, raising these same things, going to the community, talking about folk coming together, these coalitions, and being micromanage, micro-focus, because it is in the micro where you find your power. The macro actually can make you think there's nothing we can do, because micro kind of says they won. I mean macro, but micro will say, wait a minute, they won, but only by 2 votes. And we know where 20 are. They won by 1,000 votes, but we 1,000 are. So micro actually will empower people. Macro sometimes disempowers people because it's only looking at the end result and not the data and how we got there and how we can get out of here.
Folks, I want you to go to Repairs of the Breach website. Go to Repairs of the Breach website. If you have not signed up, and this is critically important. This is called doing the work, okay? It's not just talking, it's doing the work. Bishop William Barber, we certainly appreciate you joining us. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, my friend, always. God bless.
All right, folks, it's time for Black Star Network Headlines with Brittany Noble.
Carmelo Anthony's attorneys will be appealing his conviction. The notice of appeal was filed the day after the 19-year-old was found guilty of murder and sentenced to 35 years in prison for killing 17-year-old Austin Metcalf at a track meet. Defense attorney David Cole says the appeal does not dispute the arguments presented at the trial, but instead challenges the process, including the county where the trial was held and the jury selection. Carmelo is currently in the custody of the Texas Department of Criminal Justice. The Supreme Court could soon decide the future of one of the nation's newest execution methods. Alabama is asking the court to allow the execution of Jeffrey Lee using nitrogen gas after U.S. District Judge Emily Marks permanently blocked the state's nitrogen gas protocol. Marks ruled that the method violates the Eighth Amendment's ban on cruel and unusual punishment. The 11th Circuit later refused to put that ruling on hold. The challenge comes after witnesses at previous nitrogen gas executions reported seeing inmates shake, gasp, and pull at their restraints. Lee was sentenced to death for the 1998 killings of Jimmy Ellis and Elaine Thompson. During a pawn shop robbery, a jury recommended a life sentence, but a judge later overruled that recommendation and imposed the death penalty. Alabama abolished judicial override in 2017. Nitrogen gas has been used in just 8 executions, all within the last 2 years. The Supreme Court's decisions could affect whether Alabama and other states continue using the method in the future death penalty cases. And a white Tennessee school board chair has resigned following backlash over a racist social media post that he made about a black teen accused of a fatal shooting. Alan Curry, the former chair of the Hollywood County School Board, ignited community outrage with his comment, "Get a rope," which he posted after the announcement of an 18-year-old black student being charged in May on the 8th during a mass shooting in Brownsville. The Aquarius Deshaun Lax is alleged to have shot 7 students during a gathering for pre-prom pictures at Brownsville Park, resulting in 6 injuries and 1 fatality. Many critics say that Curry's remarks were inappropriate and targeted directly at the black student. On Tuesday, Curry submitted his resignation and issued a formal apology. After serving Haywood County schools and our community for 14 years, effective immediately, I am resigning from the school board. I did not intend for the social media post to be hurtful or insensitive. I realize now that it was, and I am truly sorry. I certainly did not mean for it to be racist. For that, you have my heartfelt apology. I've spent my entire career trying to make our schools good and safe for our students. I am stepping down due to poor judgment. This has caused great pain to my school board, my community, and my family and me. At the end of the day, the NAACP and I are fighting for the same kids. Our children in Haywood County should not have to worry about being shot at a party, at a home, or at a pre-prom photo shoot. Gun violence has got to stop. I want our students to live in a town without fear. The pre-prom mass shooting caused devastation and chaos in our town. So when I saw that we had apprehended the person responsible, I acted out of anger instead of thought. Once I realized how it could be interpreted, I took it down. Lax is charged with first-degree murder and perpetration of a crime, 6 counts of attempted first-degree murder, 6 counts of employment of firearm with intent to go armed, 6 counts of aggravated assault, use or deadly weapon, tampering with evidence, reckless endangerment, and deadly weapon involved. A Black Louisiana woman is suing her white neighbors for racist harassment and vandalism, all caused by their teenage son. Caroline Morrison Howard claims that the 13-year-old has engaged in several attacks, including dressing in a KKK robe, spray painting Hail Hitler and a racial slur on her home, puncturing her tires, and carving a swastika in her car. She says these incidents have been occurring since December and wants the parents to pay for the property damage as well as the mental pain and suffering that she has experienced. The 13-year-old, whose name has not been released, has been arrested and charged with criminal damage to property, criminal trespass, and hate crimes. A second Louisiana judge has recused herself from the criminal case against former Orleans Parish Sheriff Susan Hudson and former Chief Financial Officer Bianca Brown. Judge Robin Pittman decided to step down from the case to avoid any appearance of impropriety. Her recusal follows that of Judge Leon Roche, who also removed himself from the case. Sheriff Hudson was indicted in connection with last year's jailbreak, during which 10 inmates escaped and were on the run for several weeks. The indictment details allegations that span from May 2nd, 2022 to April 8th of 2026, covering the entirety of Hudson's term. Hudson and Officer Brown faced between 20 and 30 counts of misconduct in office, including filing or maintaining false public records, obstruction of justice, and various other charges. It's still unclear which judge the case will be reassigned to. And South Carolina's International African American Museum will temporarily furlough its entire staff due to budget constraints. Officials say the Charleston Museum will remain fully operational during the 20-day furlough implemented between July 1st and December 31st in staggered increments due to budget constraints. The museum first opened on June 27, 2023, and the news about the furlough comes just ahead of the museum's 3rd anniversary.
All right, folks, be sure to watch The Breakdown, Brittany Noble, every day, noon Eastern on the Black Star Network. Again, The Breakdown, Brittany Noble, every day, noon Eastern on the Black Star Network. Folks, as I said, I'm here in Nashville, the NFL Alumni Charity Golf Classic, and it raised funds for their kids' charity, and a lot of great work that they actually do. And so a number of folks been out here, and so I'm glad to be joined right now, y'all, by someone I grew All right, folks, let me tell you about Chapter. Now, if you're on Medicare or about to be, the system is not set up to work for you. Too much fine print, too many plans, and too many people making money off of your confusion. And look, we're used to this. We're no strangers to systems that don't have our best interests at heart. But we don't have to accept it when it comes to Medicare. That's why I'm telling you about Chapter. Their advisors are independent and honest. In fact, they're the only Medicare advisors that compare every plan nationwide. And they're focused on one thing: what works for you. If there's a better plan out there, they'll find it. If you're already in the right one, they'll tell you that too. There are no games. Just last year, people who switched with Chapter saved an average of $1,100. It's 20 minutes and a real person. It's completely free. My parents actually have already called. My mom sent me a text. Folks, give Chapter a call at 724-264-8281, 724-264-8281, and connect with someone you can trust. Folks, these are the kind of services that we need for our audience here at Roland Martin Unfiltered and the Black Star Network. So call Chapter right now, 724-264-8281.
A decade of love, joy, and power. Black Voters Matter is 10 years old, and we are just getting started. This is love with a purpose. This is Black joy in motion. This is unstoppable power. Across campuses, neighborhoods, and back roads, let's go! We show up not just to vote, but to be seen, to be heard, to belong. We ride together, we organize together. We remind each other that our voices matter, because they always have. Black Voters Matter is about more than ballots. It's about housing and healthcare, clean water and living wages, education, reproductive freedom, and dignity. It's about turning pain into action, turning belief into movement, turning community into power. We don't wait to be invited. We bring the energy. We bring the love. We bring the people. Because when Black communities come together, we don't just survive, we thrive. This is how change happens. This is how history moves. We organize, we build, we win.
With medicine and science under attack, I want to keep you and your family informed and healthy. I'm Dr. Ebony Hilton, and I knew at the age of 8 that I wanted to be a doctor. So I studied hard and became the first African-American female anesthesiologist hired at the Medical University of South Carolina since its opening in 1824. And I always say I was made into a doctor, but I was born to be a mom. And as a new mom, wife, sister, daughter, and friend, I understand how frightening a medical crisis can be. I care for individuals on some of the worst days of their lives, and it's my mission to provide you with a safe space to gain clarity on issues affecting your mind, body, and soul. I recognize that there are health disparities, particularly as it pertains to race, and I want to help bridge the gap between you and your healthcare providers. Join me every Thursday for Second Opinion on the Black Star Network, where each week I'll invite experts from various medical fields to share the latest health news. We'll discuss topics such as the vaccine debate, mental and sexual health, medical bias, infertility, menopause, andropause, nutrition, and aging. Together with my medical colleagues, we aim to provide you with a second opinion. Don't miss it, Thursdays only on the Black Star Network.
This is Essence Atkins.
Mr. Love King of R&B, Raheem Devon.
It's me, Sherry Shepard, and you know what you're watching.
You're watching Roland Martin, Unfiltered.
Folks, I'm here in Nashville for the NFL Alumni Charity Golf Classic, and a number of greats who are here, Hall of Famers. And one of my personal favorites, I grew up watching him in Houston. Number 52 for the Houston Oilers, Hall of Famer. He, of course, Jackson State, a Mobile, Alabama great, Robert Brazile. Doc, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Roland. It's always a pleasure to meet someone that really pushed me through the ranks. Roland, we go so far back, dude. We both grew up together in Houston. I'm so happy that you're still rolling. You're doing good things.
Doing what I do.
Anything I can do for you, you know all you got to do is knock on doing the door.
Well, I appreciate it.
We both unfiltered. You know that.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And, you know, I do hate the fact that we're in Nashville and Tennessee Titans used to be the Houston Oilers. And
I'm a Tennessee Titan, though. I'm a Titan. I'm in the Ring of Honor.
You're a Titan?
I was born an Oiler. I'm a die Titan.
Well, I cut it off.
I can't do that. Ain't been too good to me.
I supported the Titans all the way up to when the Texans came on. I'm straight hometown.
You should.
I'm 100% hometown.
I was born all.
I understand.
And me and Amy grew up together. So when she put me in the Ring of Honor, I had to become a Titan now.
Gotcha.
So I'm a die Titan.
But you still all.
Both.
I'm both. You still all.
I'm both. I'm a Titan right now, though.
Let me ask you this here. So there's this huge debate going on. You got this college, this bill Ted Cruz is trying to push, and you got Nick Saban out there who's talking as well. And what they've done is they've tried to go around and recruit these black coaches when it comes to they want to reform college sports. Here's my problem. They want to deal with the athletes. They want to deal with the money. They want to deal with the transfers. But they ain't talking about all the money the coaches are getting paid. And this is the first time, finally, we're seeing athletes who are getting their fair share. And now all of a sudden they all mad. And I got problems with that, where they want to now control the money the players are getting, but ain't nobody saying nothing about the coaches.
Everybody want to control someone else's money. So I'm going to go along with you on that thought, because these players and also these coaches deserve every penny. You know what I heard this morning? A guy playing quarterback. Get ready for this. Signed a contract for $5 million.
$500 million. Patrick Mahomes.
Patrick Mahomes. Wow. Did he go to Jackson State?
No, he did not. Texas Tech.
Texas Tech. But look, getting back to your question, man, we need to fight for our rights, both for the kids and the coaches.
See, and so you had the previous SCORE Act, and so now, of course, Ted Cruz is pushing this. And again, now, I absolutely support when you talk about with these agents and what's going on there, because in the NFL, that was an issue. They certified agents. Too many players were getting screwed over.
So true.
Same thing, financial advisors, all of those. So I do believe that. But see, the NCAA, they don't want to call them employees. They want to do everything as if they're an employee except this. And I'm sorry, the schools and the NCAA, they've been making billions upon the backs of a lot of black ball players. And now you're seeing athletes picking up $500,000, $1 million, $2, $3 million a year. Some of them making more money in college than they are making in the pros.
Sure enough is, Roland. On that point is that we know that there's money out there, and we know you got some dictatorship in everything that's done when it comes to football. Everybody wants to have their hand in the pot, and the people that always get the bag is the guy, the athlete, or the coaches. They don't get the real money they deserve. I'm all for everybody getting just like they did. We put a base out there.
That's right.
Put a base out there. I can deal with a base. If you rated this high, this is your base, like a first round, a second round, a third round. But the first rounder can't get what the fifth rounder get. The fifth rounder can't get what the first rounder get. So you got to have something out there to make this settle.
Yep.
And you got to monitor, because I was raised around the devils. Well, nothing but devils out there when I come through, and they want to control everything.
Right.
Was deserving to me. I fired agent after agent.
Mm-hmm.
But I found, Ivy Black, which is a good friend of yours, and Gene Burrow, to get me out of it. I was like the 8th man on the line, all pro. My rookie year of the year, I made rookie of the year. And after the year, I made all pro. I was still the lowest paid quarterback in the Houston Oilers. Linebacker. So I had to get rid of my agent.
Yeah, he had to go. He had to go. Before I let you go, you're a Jackson State alum, and you still got some folk mad at Dion because he left. But the whole thing is, listen, coaches come, coaches go, but people still should be supporting their programs. What would you say to a young kid out there why they should consider a HBCU football program?
First of all, let's get on the Dion thing. Dion, I want to personally thank you for what you did for me and Jackson State. And people that don't disagree, you need to learn the game. Dion did more for Jackson State since Walter and Robert Zier came through there and brought us to that rank. Dion took us to another level where every weekend we was on TV. We was making money. Now, if I got one question, why not go to Jackson State? Why not go to Texas Southern? Why not go to Prairie View? I'm a 6th round, first round pick from my HBCU. And if I got anything to say to anybody, go to a HBCU.
A 6th round pick who's in the Hall of Fame.
All the way there. Walk right in through the door.
That's it. Always good to see you, my brother.
Thank you, my brother.
I appreciate it. Thanks a bunch.
Thank you.
How did you hit him today?
Roland, I picked up the game of putting, and there's 2 things I'm going to promise you that I'm going to do. Either it's going to go in or I'm going to miss it.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true. So that's true. That's my game.
Well, my putting was good today.
Well, you need to get out there.
Yeah, I was. It was a little hot today.
Out of an 18 holes, I think I got 9.
You made 9 putts?
9 putts.
Oh, well, you on fire then. That's 50%.
Hey, it's Hall of Fame of 312. Hall of Fame of 312.
Robert, I appreciate it.
Thank you, man.
I appreciate it. I want to bring up a guy who played the linebacker for the Tennessee Titans.
My man.
He invited me here. Him and his wife chased me down like bill collectors. They were texting, call him, come on, Al. Texting, calling the brother. I said, I'll come on out. And so Al Smith, come on up here. You take the microphone there, Al. There we go. So first and foremost, just talk about
Houston Oilers, too.
How many years you played with H-Town?
11 years. And then I worked in the front office when I retired. I got hired in the front office and became a Tennessee Titan in the front office. And that's when I moved to Tennessee and been here ever since.
See, I forget the Tennessee part. It's the Oilers part. It's the Oilers part. Talk about the golf tournament. And y'all hold multiple ones across the country, or was this one just for Tennessee? Give folks an understanding what the NFL alumni does.
Well, the NFL alumni is obviously is across the country, mostly in NFL cities. The one we have here is the NFL Alumni Tennessee Golf Classic for Tennessee that benefits charities in Tennessee and people in Tennessee. But we have players come from all over Atlanta, across the country, Hall of Famers, just like you had on, whether it be Robert Brazile, Marcus Allen, Derek Dickinson was in the house today. Everybody was here enjoying themselves. And we have it across the country, but everyone in different cities, whether it be Dallas or what have you, they have their own NFL alumni tournament there.
I don't care about Dallas.
I
got somebody director. He'll be a Cowboys fan, but he also tired of losing. But go ahead.
Yeah, but it's across the country. But our focus here is Tennessee and giving back to the Tennesseans and uplifting the people here.
Talk about the charity that's helped.
It's helped American Cancer Society, NFL alumni charities. NFL alumni charities are all kids-based, whether it be Big Brothers, Big Sisters, whether it be American Cancer Kids with Cancer, whether it be Boys and Girls Clubs, kids. Tennessee Edge has Benefit, which is an organization that benefits kids in sports leagues, whether it be uniforms, shoes. Kids, can't get shoes, whether they have uniforms, just so they look like a team.
Got it.
We grew up, everybody wearing everything just to get out there, but don't look like a team. So just the basic things that some people take for granted. We want to be able to give kids the opportunity, to feel great about themselves and about what they're accomplishing.
All right, then. Well, I certainly appreciate being invited. It was a great day. Is Pac-Man Jones still here?
I don't know. I haven't seen him.
All right, send him.
He said he was carrying the team.
I didn't get
it.
No, he wasn't. No, he wasn't. He wasn't carrying the team. Now, he know better than that.
Roland's a good golfer.
He know better than that. No, Pac-Man, you know who was carrying the team. Stop it. So let me know if he's in there, because he said, I want to do your show. Okay, I didn't get his number. I had to leave, So hit him up to see if he's still here, so we'll get him on.
I'll give him a quick call. I don't know how much,
all right,
time he got.
All right, I appreciate it. Thanks for the invite. Thanks a bunch.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. So, folks, we're going to try to get Pac-Man Jones, if he's still here. No, Javon Kirsch is still hanging out in there as well, so we'll try to grab him as well. Let's go to a quick break. We come back. We're going to do our shopblackstarnetwork.com segment, and then we'll have a little bit more here from Nashville at the NFL Alumni Charity Golf Classic right here, Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. All right, folks, let me tell you about Chapter. Now, if you're on Medicare or about to be, the system is not set up to work for you. Too much fine print, too many plans, and too many people making money off of your confusion. And look, we're used to this. We're no strangers to systems that don't have our best interests at heart. But we don't have to accept it when it comes to Medicare. That's why I'm telling you about Chapter. Their advisors are independent and honest. In fact, they're the only Medicare advisors that compare every plan nationwide. And they're focused on one thing: what works for you. If there's a better plan out there, they'll find it. If you're already in the right one, they'll tell you that too. There are no games. Just last year, people who switched with Chapter saved an average of $1,100. It's 20 minutes and a real person. It's completely free. My parents actually have already called. My mom sent me a text. Folks, give Chapter a call at 724-264-8281, 724-264-8281, and connect with someone you can trust. Folks, these are the kind of services that we need for our audience here at Roland Martin Unfiltered and the Black Star Network. So call Chapter right now, 724-264-8281.
Hello, I'm Paula J. Parker. Truly proud on the Proud Family, Louder and Prouder on Disney+. And you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
All right, folks, we got a clothing line on shopblackstarnetwork.com called the Red Black Kids. The Chief Creative Officer joins us right now. Tulani Ngazimbi, hopefully I pronounced it correct, with the Red Black Kids. Glad to have you here. So tell us about this clothing line.
You hit it right on the nail. Thanks for having me, Roland. Big fan. I started the brand in 2014. The whole thing started with a skateboard, if you want to believe it. I had graduated from my master's program as the valedictorian, and I studied in New York. I moved to California. I couldn't find a job, and so I decided to build a skateboard. I studied architecture, and I built a skateboard once before. I started longboarding, and I just couldn't afford one when I was in college. So when I got out of college and I needed something to do, I started with that. And the name, of course, the active word in there is black in the brand name, but then also the word rad refers to action sports and so on. And so I wanted to take the community, our community, and put us into action sports and expose the fact that not only are we there, but then to make product that centers Black people and the Black body inside of that space.
Now, you've been doing this for the last 11 years, and you started in Portugal?
No, I actually started in Long Beach, California. And I was in Long Beach for about 7 years. And, I learned how to design from tshirtforums.com. So I was just reading about t-shirts. I knew nothing about what I was doing. I was designing on Microsoft Word to start. And I started reading about the way that the Japanese approach design, about nostalgia. And I really vibed with that. There was something about a product and not wanting to develop a product in a capitalist sense, but just like, in terms of innovating to make the product cheaper. Our biggest focus with the brand has always been quality. So strangely enough, we did our first trade show 4 years after the brand started, and we started selling in Japan, of all places. But the factories I was using out in LA, I was using some of the best factories at the time. They were causing like 25% of returns, and that was the only way that I was living. So around 2019, I just felt this push to move somewhere where I could actually make the product a little bit better. So 3 days before the pandemic, I landed in Portugal, and I used that time of being locked down to just find factories and find people who would be willing to kind of take on this task of building the brand. Little did I know that would actually cause the brand to grow.
Wow. Questions for my panel. Cameron, I'll start with you.
This is amazing. Are you in stores anywhere outside of California?
Yeah, we've sold before in Macy's, Bloomingdale's, Nordstrom. Right now we're selling on Shopbop, and we've got some pretty exciting news that we're going to debut on the show, actually, is we went back to our roots to design outdoor clothing with the same ethos, and we're actually debuting at REI this fall. So that's it's really, really exciting.
REI, congratulations.
All right, Larry.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, can you talk about what do you think? Why do you think you've been? Yeah, can you hear me, Roland? Can you hear me?
Yep, we got you. Go ahead. Yep.
Why do you think you've been successful?
That's a pretty tough question. I would say that the most important part has been the community, because the biggest thing that we represent is I never used my name for the brand intentionally because I never wanted it to be about me. When I graduated, I was a valedictorian. I thought to myself, my life was going to change. I was planning to do my doctorate, and things kind of fell through. And when I saw that I couldn't find a job, it really forced me to look at the system that existed, that a person who studied in a STEM field for a master's couldn't find work. And so then I felt as though the best thing that I could do as my first time at bat to do anything would be to start a brand and to start a company that could tell this narrative that Black people are not a monolith. And so the nice thing about it is the community responded in a way that's always been great. So when we were picked up by the first store, I had people from Atlanta reach out because we were selling in Atlanta through Macy's. I had people from Macy's, from Memphis reach out because we were selling through, Macy's as well. So it was like there was this moment where a lot of people saw themselves reflected in the product. And that's always been the intention of the brand. So I would say the success has really come from the community, to be frank.
All right, then. Greg.
Thank you, Roland, and thank you, brother Ngazimbi. At first, I thought, oh, you must be South African, but then I looked and I realized, oh, you one of them Nguni language speakers. Your people showing us, so that's what I'm talking about, man. My question is, I got my eye on this Zim Snow Team hoodie. My question is is about the Pan-African dimension of this. There have been a lot of designers over the last decade, certainly this last 5 years, particularly young people, who are really bringing us together through all our differences, but that kind of common element of Blackness. Could you, in fact, that Zim Winter Games cardigan too, brother, I'm looking at this, man. How important is it that your brand and that your work not only be global, but kind of help us connect to one another? And when you going to open a store in Zim, brother? I know things ain't always peachy keen there, but I know they be waiting on you.
You know, two things. The first thing is the fact that you knew it was Nguni language is maybe my favorite person on earth. Okay. The second thing is we are working on that. Like, it's a really slow process. We actually incorporated in Zimbabwe last year. We kept it really, really low, but we're kind of doing some stuff to see if we can create a self-sustaining model inside of Zimbabwe for people to work. And the whole idea is to kind of do like a diaspora connection, as well as connecting Black people from everywhere else with Zimbabwe. And so to create some sort of artistic like network. The other part of this that I have to mention is, you know, we've been lucky. Over the years, we've gone to some fashion weeks, New York. We showed in Paris before, which is exciting. And the most impressed I've ever been, and this is not just saying it, it's when I went to a show in Algeria with African designers. That was the most blown away I've ever been. Because I think what's happening now is that when you talk about, you know, and it wasn't just African designers, mind you, it was folks from the Caribbean as well. It was some African-American designers as well. There was this synergy of people who are deeply trying to connect with who we are, but then do it with their own lens, which is what the Rad Black Kids wants to do too. Yes. Because the language in which I'm approaching African design is with the lens of saying, I accidentally got into snowboarding, and I used to compete in snowboarding at Cal State Long Beach. And so accidentally this thing happened in my life, but it ended up informing who I became as a person and as a designer. And so my aesthetic of how I look at Pan-African clothing is within this global sensibility. There's this sensibility that this belongs to us. This is also a space that we exist in. And so I remember there was a brand when we were in Algeria that was an Ethiopian designer who was doing these jackets that were so forward thinking. I couldn't actually understand how her brain was working to make that. But still, it was within the lens of Ethiopian design, and it was still within the lens of how do I show what my people do and who it is that I am, and offer something of value that adds to the aesthetic, not just the aesthetic of just us as Black people across the diaspora, but us as designers within the sense of how do we compete with everybody else in the space.
Thank you, Ben.
All right, then. So, folks, so do this here. So the Rad Black Kids, folks, go to shopblackstarnetwork.com. Take a look at their products. Again, when you support their products, you support this show as well. So go to our marketplace segment. You'll see the Rad Black Kids. You see all their products there on the website. You see it right there. So please get their products. My brother, I certainly appreciate it. Thank you so very much for joining us.
Thank you, Roland. I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you so much.
All right, then. Hopefully, we'll bring the show down to Portugal, and then we'll hook up.
I'll be honored. I'll be honored to host.
All right, then. I certainly appreciate it. I appreciate it. Thank you so very much. All right, y'all. I'm going to talk to one more player from here in Nashville, the NFL Alumni Charity Golf Classic. Y'all might remember him. He had a nickname. He was called the Freak. Javon Kurz, what's up? What's going on, Doc?
Freak out. I'm doing great, man.
Doing good?
Yeah, great day to come and swing some
I'll
golf
hold
clubs.
it up to you right there. There you go.
Great day to come out and swing some golf clubs, man.
Yeah, it was a gorgeous day, and so lots of fun. One thing, we're just talking to Al. We're talking about Brazil as well. And you know, look, I play golf all around the country. I play in a lot of these tournaments. And people always like, man, you always playing golf. But I'm trying to explain to them, they also don't realize there are a number of nonprofits that absolutely depend upon the resources that are raised for tournaments like this. People have no idea how much it costs to run nonprofits. You see cuts are being made, philanthropy people are cutting back. And so, folks, it's not just about fun. It really is about helping these organizations sustain themselves.
It's giving back. I mean, when I first got into golf and went to my first tournament, it was a pretty cool deal because, like, the friendships you make on the golf course, like with people that volunteer their time and also donate a lot of money, just going out on the course with those guys, it's always good, but the big picture is always giving back.
Yep, absolutely. Just slide this way right here. We're going to get you right in frame. It's all good.
Yeah.
I mean, you're right. And I tell people all the time, this is my 39th year. I took golf as my PE when I was at Texas A&M. I said, so probably top 3 all-time best decisions made in life because of literally the people you connect with, because of the amount of time you're spending with them.
A lot of time. You're going to think for at least 4 hours, especially if you're playing in a tournament, a scramble or something. It can be at least 5 or 6 hours. So you're going to be out there. You might as well have a good time and then make connections. Because when we come out as former players, we like catching up with guys. Like I probably got pictures with all the former football players I saw and exchange numbers. So we can do this again somewhere else and help someone else's cause out as well.
Now, I was talking with last night, even out there today. I tell people, look, don't ask my opinion if you do not want an honest answer. The show is called Roland Martin Unfiltered. So I had a woman showed me her video. She says, okay, give me your honest assessment of my swing. And I saw it. I was like, oh, that's an F.
Yeah.
She's like, wait a minute. She said, you could be nice. I said, well, if your swing was nicer. I said, listen, don't. And I told her, I said, it's no disrespect. I said, but if you want to do this, you're going to need to put that work in. And same thing. It's a lot of guys who are former NFL players, NBA players, who think, oh, yeah, I can easily do this here. And I go, okay.
No.
It's a different. The same energy that you took to execute that, you're going to do it for this here as well.
That's the thing. And so because of that reason, I don't get mad at myself, because I know when I played football, I was doing football 8 days a week, and it's only 7 days in a week. So I was doing it 8 days a week. So it's definitely one of those games. You gotta be out there. You gotta put in the time, because it's not going to just happen. You're not just going to just wake up one day and just start hitting the ball perfectly. You may hit 1 or 2 perfect, but you're not going to hit it perfect. So you gotta put in the work.
But do you bring that same intensity, that same dedication that you brought to football, where you're like, no, I'm going to master this?
Not yet. Not yet, but it takes time. I mean, my days get kind of packed sometimes. I don't have time to go out and hit balls, but I do notice whenever I do lock in and I'm out there at least 3-4 days a week, it feels so good. For real. It feels so good, but it's definitely one of those.
Does it feel better than sacking the quarterback, though?
Oh, when you hit a nice one, when you hit a nice plush one, it's right there. It's like 6-7, 6-7. It's right there.
I got you. Well, man, it's certainly good to meet you. Glad to see you here. It was great playing in this tournament, and hope to be back next year.
Definitely.
I appreciate it.
All right. I'm trying to win next year, though.
Yeah, I don't know what somebody just brought me a gift. They said, hey, y'all won something. So I have no idea what score we turned in. Pac-Man Jones turned the scorecard in.
Yeah.
So y'all might want to double check it.
Okay, now you guys got that one, but the team that turned in a 49.
Are you serious? A 49? Okay, all right. We already know what that means.
We already know what that means. As long as they have fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, Javon, I appreciate it, brother.
My pleasure.
Thanks a bunch.
My pleasure.
All right, folks, that is it for us. Let me thank Cameron. Let me thank Larry. Let me thank Greg for being on today's panel. I certainly appreciate it. Greg, I'm here in your city, in your state. We, of course, out here at this golf course. Glad to be here.
Yes.
There's a lot of stuff that now what we did. We did. You know, matter of fact. Yeah, a lot of heroes. Heroes. In fact, let's do this. Actually, want to do this here. But
yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. Okay. Now, before we go, I meant to do the data center story. The drama is happening at Fisk. So, Greg, this is on Thursday. Let me just go ahead and get. I'm not going to play the video, but let me just go ahead and get y'all three perspective. Because you got students that are protesting. Representative Jones, the president of Fisk, says she wants to put a data center on the Fisk University campus. They've had protests. People will say they don't like that. So let's just get your thoughts on that. Greg, I want to, your relationship with, obviously, Tennessee State and Nashville. I want you to weigh in on that.
Yeah, I saw my man Cass Teague out there. I would say this very quickly, Roland. I am really concerned that this is the opening salvo in an attempt to buy data centers at HBCUs. Like Larry said earlier, maybe Cameron, you said it, a lot of them are in these small places, and I'm really scared because that's right down the street from Tennessee State, and Meharry is across the street. They could start trying to offer HBCUs what would seem like a whole lot of money to host, and you could look at it in Huntsville. You could see it in Jackson, Tennessee with Lane College, Tuskegee. This might happen over and over again. But in terms of Nashville, brother, I would say this. I grew up as a Houston Oilers fan, Earl Campbell, all them guys, Dan Pastorini, Warren Moon, and I, from Nashville, don't accept the Tennessee Titans. So I'm just telling you now, brother, why you say I was a Houston Oilers, Bum Phillips and all them, brothers. So I'm just telling you, I don't watch NFL no more, but the Oilers stayed in Houston, brother. That's all. So I just want to say that too.
Love you, Blue. Absolutely. Cameron, your thoughts again on this controversy of a data center on the campus of Fisk University.
I think this is this actually ties back to what we talked about earlier in underfunding HBCUs, and so many HBCUs looking for whether it's quick or what they consider good money, but all money isn't good money. I'm pretty sure that for them to even be considering this, there was some maybe initial financial compensation, or they were told about how much money this may generate, but at what cost? You're going to spoil the land, you're going to spoil the water, the emissions that come out of this. While data centers are going to be needed and now in our future with the amount of data that we do need to store and process, putting this right in the heart of schools, it feels like old redlining. It feels like every time Cancer Alley down in Louisiana, it feels like them putting something right on a HBCU campus and maybe giving them a few dollars, even if it's a couple million up front. But then now you've turned a campus that is it's like building a campus on a power plant or building a campus on an industrial waste site over the years. And what will that do to the community? What will that do to the school? What will that do to so much? And what legacy will that leave for others?
Real quick, let me get Larry here. Larry?
Yeah, this is not a good idea, and hopefully the political pressure we've seen in the last couple of days, the president reverses this decision. It could be not only detrimental for HBCUs, for Black communities in terms of data centers and the economic impact, and also the environmental impact.
All right, then. Folks, gentlemen, I certainly appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Folks, that is it for us. Tomorrow I'll be broadcasting live from Memphis. I'll be giving a speech tomorrow. The Juneteenth ceremony there, so look forward to being in Memphis tomorrow. And I'll be in Dallas on Saturday. Y'all support the work that we do. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. If you want to contribute via Cash App, use a Stripe QR code. You see it right here on the screen. If you're listening, go to blackstarnetwork.com. Check some money order. Make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered, P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037 at 0196. PayPal's R Martin Unfiltered, Venmo RM Unfiltered, Zelle Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Of course, download the Black Start Network app, Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. If you want to, of course, get our Roland Martin Unfiltered swag, all you got to do is go to shopblackstarnetwork.com, shopblackstarnetwork.com to get that. And then, of course, support our Black-owned products. You see it right there as well, shopblackstarnetwork.com. Folks, that is it for us. I'll leave you with this wonderful view of this gorgeous course here in Nashville. It's been an absolutely great time. We have the NFL Alumni Charity Golf Classic. Al Smith, certainly appreciate you inviting me out. And so this is, again, been a wonderful, wonderful day. Shout out to all the volunteers, everybody who've been out here working this course. And again, we're here at the Hermitage President's Reserve course in Old Hickory, Tennessee. Folks, that's it. I'll see y'all tomorrow right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network, live from Memphis, Tennessee. Holla!